I'm very happy you saw the film because it will be very difficult to explain things if you don't see the subject of our discussion. Just to say a couple of words before I speak about the wedding of Majdevo. It was produced in the first year of the Serbian organized film production, which was 1911, when the famous owner of the most elegant Belgrade Hotel Paris and the owner of the first steady cinema in Serbia, Svetozar Botoric, decided to invest money and organize the first production company in Serbia. He was somehow connected to French company, famous French company, Majdevo, in Paris, who sent him a very experienced and very professional naturalized Hungarian named Louis Peter de Berry, or Louis de Berry, who already worked for Pate and who was experienced in many film productions, although he was freelancer and he wasn't employed in the company. So that was the first year when they produced two features, one of them of the full length, called The Life and Death of great leader Karađorđe of the Serbian uprising, and 12 other films, among which we have one that we call the first Serbian documentary and first Serbian ethnological film, which you just saw in a shorter version. Why not the first? Because some of you may know that the first documentary in Serbia was made in 1904 by two Englishmen who came to Belgrade to record the coronation of the King Peter Karađorđević in 1904. They were very well equipped. They had about 2,000 feet of negative, which was quite a substantial amount of that time, and they made a very interesting documentary on the coronation itself, but also about Belgrade of that time and about other cities in Serbia like Monastery of Žiča, and then from Montenegro, Cetinje, and then they went to Dalmatia and closed their journey in Šibenik in Dalmatia at the end. That was the first documentary and first ethnological documentary as well, because the same day that King Peter was coronated, in Belgrade, the Ethnographical Museum was opened, and then there was the public announcement in the press that peasants may come to Belgrade in their best outfit. So they put their costumes on, the costumes they were keeping for special occasions, and so Belgrade became a kind of movable exhibition of the national costume, of the folk costumes. All of them were bought by the museum, and they are still in Belgrade in the collection of Ethnographic Museum. And Arnold Murray Wilson, the Englishman who was taking pictures there, took some pictures of the national costumes. So it also can be seen as a ethnographic film. But it was, in fact, British production, English production, about Serbia, about Serbian things, but produced by two Englishmen, and that's why we don't call it pure Serbian. But if you want a pure Serbian one, very fast it came, and it was the film that we are discussing today, Wedding in Majdevo, which original title is The Wedding in the Serbian Village, which may be misleading, although the wedding was really staged in the village of Majdevo near Kruševac in southwestern part of Serbia. because its main actors came from Belgrade's high circles, close to the ruling radical party of the Prime Minister Nikola Pašić, to which Botorić, Svetozar Botorić, himself belonged. The main protagonists of this event were the elite of the party and of the government of the Kingdom of Serbia. The wedding was allegedly attended almost by the entire managing board of the party, and they particularly included the wedding host, the local priest Mihailo Minic, a long-time MP of the same party, then the filming manager Svetozar Botorić, whom I mentioned, whose fancy hotel Paris on Belgrade's main square Terazije, and also the first steady cinema theater in the capital, was an actual headquarters of the party, and above all, one of the most eminent members of the cabinet, Nastas Petrović, the Minister of the Interiors, who was the Stari Svat, which means God's own witness at the Serbian wedding, who closely monitored and kept under control all aspects of the event. In accordance with his duty, Nastas, dressed in a picturesque double-breasted waistcoat and a jacket of the latest Paris style, was the chief of the ritual. He was constantly in front, behind, and around the camera. From the opening speech to the last frame of the film, in which he is shown leading Kraljevo Kolo, which means king's own round dance, he behaved just the way Stari Svat is expected to behave. As far as cinematography is concerned, he was tirelessly assisted by Svetozar Botorić himself. The camera of the Parisian-Hungarian Louis de Berthy is reliable and professional. The seamless photographic sharpness and the very gentle movements of the camera among the horizontal axes allowed to see well all the participants in the event and every detail of the scene, a film document par excellence. Just as ethnology describes and defines the Serbian wedding, the film image captures a set of rituals imbued with the folklore elements involving and establishing order, the conduct of the participants in the ritual and dance, which is the part of the feast, as well as the final banquet, this time in the shadow of the family's sacred tree, which is called Zapis in Serbian, in the spacious courtyard of their property in Majdevo. The first scenes of the film were taken the interior of the house under artificial light, for which De Berry is to be highly credited, having in mind the time and circumstances of the filming. Under the light of a single Jaunay gas lamp, which can be seen in the center of the scene, there unfolds the introductory ritual speech, which is performed by the priest, the host, and an envoy of God in front of the bride and groom, to accomplishment of a candle. The presence of mythical ancestors is invoked, and prescribed rituals are performed in order to appease him. Then, the ritual was captured in the cinematic time that is almost equal to the real time. Today we would say 1-to-1, in scrupulous respect of the documentary principle. The same applies to the outdoor scenes of the wedding banquet and the ceremonial round dance, kolo, danced under the sacred tree. Perhaps all those facts led the first serious researcher of the history of Serbian film, Božidar Zečević, to cite this film as, quote, the first Serbian ethnological film, unquote, which, having in mind the above-mentioned facts, is not true. We know today that first was made in 1904 by Arnold Newell Wilson. But the film is truly eminently ethnological, and it stands among the very beginning of the great cinematic heritage, which enters into the culture of the Serbian people in the second decade of the film's history. This fact requires serious consideration. These are few cinematographic nations that can boast of such works in the childhood of film, of such time mummies in the pure Bazinian sense. When I say Bazinians, I mean Andrey Bazin, one of the greatest film theoreticians ever. How film preserves time and rescues time from rotting and from corruption, which is called the mummy complex. At the first level, we observe the visible dominant elements of the scene. Under the clan's sacred tree, the priest, Mihailo Minic, is tending his guests. These wedding guests are in the image of all local strata of then Serbia, ranging from the representatives of the bourgeois class, dressed according to the latest Viennese and Parisian fashion. The bride is wearing a wedding gown hewn in Paris, in summer suits, summer Panama suits, to the richly embodied coats like Anterie or vests like Gunjevi, but also modest linen shirts from the Spats and peasant leader, high-heeled shoes to boots and traditional peasant shoes, opanci, from traditional fur caps, trubare, and the shaikasha, caps to bowler hats, official caps, boater, and Panama hats. All of these in a single place under the mythical tree, the symbol of the community. Whole Serbia assembled at the joint celebration, citizens, intellectuals, clerks, soldiers, and peasants, quote, by nature all the same, unquote, as Zečević says. Hence, observed at the first level the sociological pattern of the country and the life section of its society are expressed through sharp and clear moving images of Deberi and Botoric. A sociological analysis would reveal in the calm and happy faces of these actors the signs of a brief period of stability and prosperity between 1904 and 1914, which is now called the Serbian Golden Age. This film is truly an authentic evidence of how the society looked like and at the beginning of the 20th century, the period of overall progress in the economy and the culture of Serbia, when the golden dinar was as worth as much as gold franc or sovereign in Britain, when people lived in happiness and prosperity while culture and art were flourishing. This short period of time, which was severely and suddenly interrupted by the wars of 1912, 1918, is remembered in the collective consciousness of Serbs and through the film. Božidar Zečević presents the poignant evidence of the effective power of cinema. Quote, some traveling cinema seemed screened the film A Wedding in Majdevo after a world war in Kruševac at Takovo Hotel in the town. The people from the town and its surroundings flocked to see in it themselves, and then relatives, usually the ones who did not return from the war, due to which cries could often be heard during the performances. Unquote. This is the power demonstrated by the Botoric cinematograph. It outlived Botoric too. The first Serbian producer died as a prisoner in a camp of Neusiedl am See in 1916. At another level, it is possible to read a deeper sense of the same scene. The actual characters, which are part of ritual under the crown of the sacred oak, appeared as revived archetypes descending from generations whose destiny is imprinted in the common experience. This wedding can also be observed as a celebration of the mythical renewal of the community, i.e., the re-establishment of a balance of an overall social harmony, which is the deepest meaning of the wedding ritual at all. Hence, the solemn and the radiant faces in this scene. Hence, the dignified peace of all participants in the ritual, not only the elderly ones, but also many children, carefully and solemnly dressed, who responsibly perform the roles assigned to them. This gathering is pervaded by blissful tranquility. There are neither exaggerations typical of weddings of today, nor debauchery as it happens today. This is a sacred service for the benefit of the community, which is very similar, if not identical, to the spirit of Zavetina, a community feast which seeks to ensure the continuity and the progress of a clan. So, special attention is paid to the maintenance of all components of tradition, which is embodied in the priest Mihailo, the last head of the family's cooperative of 50 members, which has not been divided since the time of the last migration from Kosovo in 1619, writes Božidar Zečević. Thus, the wedding of Majdevo appears as a revived archetypal image of the Serbian Sabor assembly in the original form. Thanks to the film and its ability to rescue time from his proper corruption, as Bazin said, the archetype operates as a recreation of the folk soul. This time, place, participants, and the functions on the ritual of Majdevo take us back 1,000 years old sources. The scene of the banquet and dancing kolo under the oak crown has a special ethnographic value or anthropological value. According to descendant of Minic family, who still lives in the property, the zapis, the sacred tree, was one of 2 such trees in the village, and it was associated with a single clan, as opposed to another sacred tree, which was slightly downhill, marked as a plate, with a plate, around which the village festivity of Zavetina was concentrated on the occasion of Pentecost. Minic's sacred tree, whose crown dominates the film, fully corresponds to the old Serbian paradigm of a tree of a thunder god, Perun, which was believed to be his sanctuary sometimes. Quote, its giant forms, its solid fabric of wood and other features put Tree among eminent representatives of its kind, writes leading Serbian ethnologist Božidar Zečević. Unquote, and quote again. What is an eagle among the birds and the lion among the animals, this is what this oak tree is in the plant world. In the mythologies of European peoples, the oak was dedicated to the thunder god. One of oldest known sanctuaries of Zeus was located in the sacred grove of Dodoni in Epirus, where Zeus was believed to communicate his will through the rustling leaves of the sacred oak. The Roman thunder god Jupiter inherited the oak of Zeus. In the waste forest inhabited by Germans, the oak was sacred tree of Donar or Thor. Serbian folklore is full of reminiscences of the oak tree, as these dedicated to one-time thunder god, the tree under which such rituals were performed, sometimes even in symbiosis with Christianity. This tree was considered sacred. It had the function of a place of worship and was often believed to be residence of God. However, the final chord of the scene, the dancing of King's Color, which led around the camera by the main envoy and representative, the minister Nastas, suggests the mandatory mythical presence of a king, a trace of the archaic god king, without whom the genuine Serbian wedding would be impossible. Dancing under the sacred tree is the evidence of that of the past. The Horus dances and the rituals were closely associated, proceeds ethnologist Zečević. Here is enough to know that the people like to have a sacred tree on their property, since it was believed that it protects their estates from their hail. The ritual character of this dance can be inferred from the practice of dancing at other mystical and religious places, such as junctions, wood piles, and the like. Nastas' conduct and the way of which he leads the ritual dance under the sacred tree are apparently different from behavior of an ordinary Kolo leader. It has been noted that the way of dancing in scene ritual dances is completely different from the modern way of dancing, which means that their dances belong to the different ages, older ages. The dance was not to be interrupted before being completed, and the Beri and Botoric acted accord with this, and it consists of tiny steps, almost in place, with barely noticeable hopping. Yes, this dance belonged to another and older layer of the feast, the celebration of fertility and the sacrifice for the benefits of the whole community. Perhaps it's not accident that the wedding in Majdevo was organized during the summer solstice rather than in the autumn, as is common among the Serbs, during the period where the growing cycle had ended, after the harvesting of fruits had been completed, when the sun reaches its peak, the feast that contains elements of paganism fall in this period. It is the other ritual level of film side actually trace of the oldest substratum of the Serbian cult of the supreme God, who is, after all, the only able to gather the whole country in a single huge color dedicated to him. While it is possible to trace certain divisions of the society at the sociological level, gentlemen sitting together with gentlemen and farmers together with farmers, in this huge round dance, the divisions collapse. A farmer joins the dance next to the distant lord, a minister next to the daily laborer. The whole Serbia joins the dance, and it seems that it achieves the spiritual unity, sabornost. The film is the huge sign and the symbolic image of an age achieved precisely by means of that magical realism similar to today's Emir Kusturica. Thank you.